Have you ever played a video game and wondered how other people feel about a character you like the most? Only to be shocked to find out the popular opinion is that they are actually the devil spawn and deserve every comment of hate they get. It's amusing how often it happens to me, but I'm here to balance things and offer these characters a fighting chance. Or at least share my thoughts on why I like them in the first place. Hi, I'm Lime. Today I'll be taking a look at Life is Strange, specifically at one of the most polarizing figures in the recent history among the gaming world, Chloe Price. Life is Strange is a series of episodic adventure games published by Square Enix. The series debuted with the eponymous first installment, which was released episodically throughout 2015, and the first game is what I'm going to be talking about in this video. The plot of Life is Strange focuses on the story of the passionate photography student at the Blackwell Academy, Max Caulfield, who had just recently returned to her hometown, Arcadia Bay. Not too soon after she witnesses her childhood best friend, Chloe, being fatally shot by a fellow student at the Academy, Nathan, Max discovers her new powers. The ability to rewind and stop time as she wishes, essentially her choices and actions creating a butterfly effect that causes anomalies around Arcadia Bay and brings a catastrophic storm that is going to ruin the town as we know it. Yeah, it's a lot. The story of Life is Strange continues to follow the adventures of Max as she navigates Arcadia Bay through a journey of self-discovery while trying to learn how to control her new powers. Max is challenged throughout the story by various events that usually put her in a difficult position, morally speaking, or at least the game is trying to convince us that all of her possible choices will have burdensome consequences no matter what. Of course, Chloe also tags along the way. There's also obviously other side characters that are important to the storyline, but I will be mostly focusing on Chloe's relationship with Max, as Life is Strange clearly paints their relationship as the primary focus of the game. I mean, after all, the premise of the game, other than Max's totally cool superpowers, is a story about three strange childhood best friends that reunite under unexpected circumstances in order to solve a disappearance. Yeah, don't worry, I didn't forget about Rachel Amber, but I will discuss her relationship with Chloe more in depth later. I believe a lot of hatred towards Chloe stems from her pudding personality, her attitude towards Max and her choices, or her general reaction towards the events that take place within the story. I feel like a lot of people over-exaggerate or underplay her character, but I understand why it happens. She kind of feels familiar, if that makes sense, because a lot of Chloe's traits are very realistic. I feel like a lot of us have actually met a Chloe in real life, so that can also be the root of the bias people have against her or the reason why there's so many people that like her. I'm not here to argue if people should like her or not, but I want to put my 2 cents on her character. As you can see from the video title, I like Chloe. I actually really like her a lot. She's in fact my favorite character from the Life is Strange series. Now, take a seat, grab a bag of popcorn, and let's take a deep dive into the roller coaster that is Chloe's journey in Life is Strange. As Life is Strange is a video game released episodically, I wish to focus on Chloe's portrayal in each episode and see how she's characterized, then I will discuss her character further after that. Before we take a look at each episode in particular, I wish to put some light on Chloe's backstory, because I believe it would help us understand her attitude and actions a bit better. I will mostly highlight the backstory we learned from the first game, because I feel like Before the Storm is a bit contradictory, which can lead to a lot of inconsistency between what we learned in first game and the prequel. Frankly, I don't think people should necessarily consider the 2 games as different entities, but an argument can be made that the original creators had a different version for the story as well for Chloe. Take that as you will. Anyway, what we learned is that Chloe is essentially a product of her own personal trauma. In 2008, on what seemed to be an uneventful day for Max and Chloe, it also turned out to be the day that Chloe loses her father in a tragic fatal car accident. From that moment, the Chloe that had a bright future ahead of her became a rebellious, hot-headed, self-destructive person that had adopted narcissistic tendencies and even had problems with drug addiction. The loss of her father wasn't just any loss. It embodied the loss of her innocence, the loss of her former bright life. Even though Max was there at the beginnings for Chloe when she had just lost her father, due to unfortunate circumstances, well, because of her parents, Max had to move away and pretty much leave Chloe to deal with her grief alone. I know Chloe has a good relationship with her mother for the most part. They unfortunately grieved by themselves, and even then, Joyce finally learned to move on, finding a new partner and building a relationship with him, which is something that Chloe couldn't do. Things seemed to be slowly get better when Chloe befriends Rachel Amber, but it was just not meant to be, as we learned that Rachel Amber goes missing and Chloe is left by herself once again. All of these factors combined at the root of her abandonment issues, as well as have contributed to the declining state of her own mental health. That Chloe's mental illness justify her actions? No, but it is important to understand that people deal with trauma differently. Without further ado, let's dive into the first episode, Chrysalis. Unfortunately, this episode does not have a lot going on. After all, the purpose of the episode is to set up the story and introduce us to all of the characters. However, there's a couple interesting Chloe scenes that I wish to bring up. After Max uses her powers to save Chloe and is confronted by Nathan in the parking lot because of spying on him earlier in the bathroom, Chloe is the one who actually rescues Max by letting her get in her car and drive her away from the academy. In the car, we see the first signs of Chloe's toxic attitude towards Max. She accuses Max of abandoning her all those years ago and is frustrated at her that she did not reach out to her for 5 years. But in a very Chloe way, she does take a step back when they arrive at her house and expresses her happiness at reuniting with Max after such a long time. Yeah, Chloe is mad at Max, but we also see that Chloe does want to rebuild this relationship. Should Chloe have been more understanding of Max? Yes, for sure. The game does not say that Chloe has ever tried to contact Max either, even though that is reckoned in the prequel, but I feel like even though the game does not explicitly say it, it was pretty much implied. Also, you have to realize this is the first time Chloe has seen Max since what feels like forever. When you don't see somebody who is to be your best friend for 5 years, you're bound to have a strong initial reaction towards them when you reunite. But I guess that's just me. Moving on, after looking through Chloe's personal stuff like the nosy person she is, Max learns about Rachel Amber. We see that even though she had gone missing, Chloe still missed her a lot and revealed she was the one who had put up all of the missing person posters at the academy, not giving up on her just yet. In this scene, Chloe calls Rachel her own angel that had saved her life. This symbolizes further how in Chloe's perspective, Rachel Amber was this person that was going to eventually free her from the chains of her own trauma. But before that would happen, Rachel had gone missing. Most people believed she had just left Arcadia Bay, but Chloe got told her otherwise. Something must have happened. Anyway, Max leaves an angsty Chloe behind as she goes to the garage to find tools to fix her camera. She quickly solves a puzzle using her rewind powers and discovers that Chloe's stepfather had set up security cameras in the house and then returns to the bedroom. Max doesn't succeed in fixing her camera even though she had the right tools, then Chloe goes up to her and takes a look at the photos she had taken recently. She figures out it was Max who had saved her in the bathroom and thanks her. Knowing what Max had done for her, Chloe is actually pretty sweet here and gives Max her father's old camera, and then they proceed to have a cliché teen drama bonding scene as they fool around and listen to loud music. Oh, this dancing scene is actually pretty famous for the wonky animations. Yeah, criticism can be made about that, but I'm here to focus on the narrative. I'll admit that the dialogue is corny and it does feel forced at times, but personally speaking, it is so ridiculous that it does kinda circle into being funny and enjoyable for me, especially because of the CW vibes it gives off. While the two of them were dancing, Chloe's stepfather, David, returns home and complains about the music, putting a stop to it. Now there's a scene where David catches Chloe smoking a joint, and based on your actions, he can actually hit her across the face, which is a terrible thing to do. It is implied that David has physical abuse tendencies, as well as a very controlling personality, even though he only wants to do the right thing for his family. But I say it with Chloe here, and I totally understand why she dislikes him. The episode continues with the two of them going to the local lighthouse and catching up a bit more on each other's lives, then Max confiding in Chloe about the vision she's been having. Chloe, at first, doesn't believe her, but after it randomly starts snowing, she tells her to tell her everything. This second episode, Out of Time, showcases more of Chloe's manipulative behavior as well as her recklessness. Throughout the chapter, it is shown that Chloe pushes Max to show off her new powers, even after Max at one point gets a nosebleed from her powers and almost faints. Chloe just calls her a weakling or something? Yeah, that wasn't a good look for Chloe at all. Not only is Chloe careless with Max, but she also actually puts herself in danger multiple times throughout the episode. Like the infamous train scene where she gets her boot stuck in the tracks as the train is approaching and just doesn't take off the boot. I guess she was too panicked to have her mind clear enough to deal with the situation. However, I saw those scenes more so as a final destination kind of thing where Chloe wasn't supposed to be alive in the first place, as the game later explains. So the universe is just trying to kill her at any chance, even in stupid scenarios, rather than just Chloe's own fault. Oh, Chloe's ignorant attitude as well as self-centered nature is also shown when she gets annoyed at Max for answering Kate's phone call at the diner. For context, Kate is Max's friend from the Blackwell Academy that suffers from depression and suicidal thoughts because of the bullying she suffers from the fellow students. I think this scene does genuinely paint Chloe as a really bad friend because she's not getting undivided attention from Max, but in her small defense, she does apologize later in the game for preventing her from being Kate's friend when she needed her as she didn't know what Kate was going through. I think this episode continues to do a good job at drawing parallels between Max and Chloe and showcasing them as the opposing personalities that they are. As for Max, a lot of people tend to get upset with the fact that she's still friends with Chloe, but to be honest, Max is just too good of a person. She does admit that she does feel used by Chloe at times, but she's happier about the fact that Chloe expressed to her that these past few days have been the best week of her life. Even though she enables Chloe's behavior, I genuinely think Max just simply sees the best in her. As for Chloe, I don't think she's being intentionally manipulative. It's just the way she acts because of her trauma, and as we previously have seen, there's moments where Chloe is a genuinely kind person, but it's obvious that she just needs help. The next episode, Chaos Theory, is actually so much messier than the previous episode. It opens up with Max getting a text message from Chloe to meet up with her at the Blackwell Academy's campus. The two of them break into the academy at night because Chloe believes all the strange things that have been happening in Arcadia Bay are actually connected and the truth can be found in the principal's office. After some shenanigans, they finally break into the room and Chloe finds a cryptic message that at first glance appears to be a weird drawing by Nathan, but they figure out it says Rachel in the dark room, and further find out that David has been investigating Rachel as well. Oh, also Chloe is willing to steal some money from a handicap fund so she can pay off her drug dealer, Frank, who had been pressuring her to pay him. Here Max has the choice to either steal the money or not. Chloe is definitely happier if you accept to steal the money, as Frank might be more inclined to tell them more about Rachel. But if Max takes the high ground, Chloe does feel disappointed, and it's honestly a really bad reaction from her. Messy, but on a lighter note, we do see more of Chloe's better side when the two of them swim at the Blackwell Academy swimming pools, a scene with a lot of romantic undertones, as well when they have a sleepover and the next day Max can choose to kiss her or not. If she does kiss her, Chloe calls her hardcore. Moving on, there's a scene that a lot of people get mad at Chloe for. Max goes to have breakfast and talks to Joey, and then when Chloe joins them, she picks an argument with her mom, accusing the two of them of gossiping about her. A lot of people conveniently forget that Chloe actually started the fight on purpose, and had told Max that she was going to distract Joey so Max could go into the garage and investigate David's belongings. I don't think people should take this scene at face value. After finding out that Frank had a deeper relationship with Rachel than what they initially thought, Max and Chloe break into Frank's RV to investigate further. After they search through the RV, they find photos of Rachel along with love letters and romantic notes written by Rachel for him. This causes Chloe to have a breakdown and leave the RV in frustration. This is the moment where Chloe finally realizes that Rachel Amber had been hiding things from her. Rachel, the person she had put on a pedestal, was not so perfect as she initially believed. I think Chloe's anger rose from the fact she had put all of her trust in Rachel, only for her to not treat the same way she wished to. In the truck, Chloe has an emotional outburst and once again snaps. She blames her father for dying and leaving her all alone, as well gets upset once again with Max for leaving her behind. Max, for once, stands up for herself and tells Chloe to stop blaming others for her own personal problems. Chloe defends herself by saying that she has to blame somebody or else it's all her own fault. A lot of people think that Chloe is just nonsensically lashing out at Max, but she's in fact not blaming anybody but herself. What Chloe is saying that she's actually upset with herself because she personally feels responsible for her father's death, for her rocky relationship with Joyce, for not being friends with Max anymore, and finally for letting Rachel Amber down because she had failed to protect her when she needed it. Chloe has built up so much anger inside herself and cannot cope with the fact that in reality the world is not out there to get her. The simple explanation is that she was just wronged by personal circumstances. The things that happened are unfortunate but out of her or anyone's control. Because of what happened in the past few scenes, Max discovers she has a new power. She is able to look at a photo and rewind back to the time when the photo was taken. Wishing to save Chloe's dad, Max alters reality and changes the timeline. While at first glance things seem to be better, Max discovers that Chloe ended up being immobilized, becoming quadriplegic. In the fourth episode, Darkroom, we learn that even though her dad is alive and well in this alternate reality, Chloe is the one who ends up in a car accident. In this alternate reality, Chloe is much more of a kinder person than the one we all know, but personally, I really cannot see the two Chloes as different people. I think they're both the same person, just shaped by different experiences, and even then there's character traits that they both share. After Max spends more time with her, Chloe admits to Max that she knows she doesn't have long to live and expresses that her wish is for the time spent with Max to be her last memory, especially since she wants to also stop being a burden for others as well. Here Max is given a choice to give Chloe an overdose of morphine or not. I think this scene is a very impactful one, and we can see that Chloe can truly be a selfless person despite her difficulty in the normal timeline. Back to the current timeline, Max keeps what happened a secret for the time being and continues her investigation with Chloe. Eventually, after snooping through David's personal belongings once again, checking on kids at the hospital if she was successfully saved earlier, and searching through Nathan's stuff for clues, the two of them meet up once again with Frank. Here, Chloe can shoot both Frank and his dog based on your choices, but to be honest I don't really care because Frank was kind of a creep in my opinion because of the age gap between him and Rachel Amber, even though the game tries to paint him as a sympathetic, misunderstood figure. But yeah, if you care about him, Max can reverse time and save him regardless. Anyway, after getting whatever clues and intel they needed, they put two and two together and are led to an abandoned farm owned by Nathan Prescott's family in the middle of nowhere. We find out this farm has a secret underground bunker filled with photography stuff. It was essentially a studio, the darkroom Nathan previously mentioned. Here's the moment where Max and Chloe find binders filled with photos of Rachel Amber, Kate Marsh, as well as other missing girls from the Blackwell Academy taken when they were drugged. One of the photos of Rachel has her laying on the ground in the junkyard. Despite the implications he holds, Chloe refuses to believe she's dead, and the two of them rush to the junkyard, where unfortunately they discover Rachel Amber's corpse buried in the ground. This scene is heartbreaking, as Chloe falls to the ground and proceeds to sob as she mourns the loss of her former friend. She is finally hit with the reality that once again somebody close to her has died. I loved her so much. What kind of world does this? Is what Chloe says. Chloe always had a fear of abandonment and loss. Though she had the slightest glimpse of hope that she would find her friend alive, even then the cruel world proves her wrong. Chloe's mental breakdown illustrates the moment she finally lets out color of her bottled up emotions: denial, anger, and at last sadness. In order to prevent the things that happened to Rachel Amber from happening to other girls, Chloe and Max go to the Blackwell Academy in search of Nathan. But a cryptic text message from Nathan has them return to the junkyard once again, where they get ambushed and Chloe is shot in the head, which is very typical of Chloe. As Max figures out the secret mastermind behind all of the crimes is Mark Jefferson, Max's photography teacher. The twist is slightly lame and could have definitely been executed better, but I digress. In the final episode of Life is Strange: Polarized, Max escapes from Mark Jefferson's grasp after he gives her a cliché RPG endgame post speech, and Max jumps through time as she creates a timeline where Jefferson is arrested earlier in the week, but the timeline still has the tornado coming to Arcadia Bay. So Max returns to the original timeline, eventually figuring out how to save Chloe, and once again Jefferson is arrested, as the two girls spend the rest of their day at Chloe's house until the storm gets too bad. After altering their timeline, Max finds herself at the beach where Chloe reveals she had taken Max's advice to go to the lighthouse, where they will be safe from the storm. This reunion is pretty wholesome, as Chloe thanks Max for everything she had done for her and tells her to not fully blame herself for the storm that's happening. Max loses consciousness and goes through a nightmare sequence, which is a bit all over the place, but it ends with Max confronting herself in the dream, and this nightmare Max calls herself a bad person for enabling Chloe and putting up with her drama. But then Dream Chloe tells Max that she's not a bad person, and then Max finds herself a sequence where she can see all the good fun moments she had with Chloe these past few days. I think the scene was interesting, more so for Max's character and less for Chloe's, but yeah, fun stuff. Returning back to reality, we found out that Chloe had taken Max up here to the lighthouse while she was unconscious, and Max explains to Chloe that she's the cause of the storm that was about to happen because she changed reality and Chloe's destiny over and over again. Chloe realizes that the only possible way for Max to prevent the destruction is by letting her die when she was supposed to in the bathroom from all the way back in the first episode. This represents Chloe's most selfless moment in the whole game. She is willing to accept her own death as long as it saves the lives of others that do not deserve the fate that's about to hit them, especially valuing the life of her own mother, even her own stepfather. Chloe confides in Max how happy she had made her, how loved she had felt, their friendship being something that Chloe hasn't felt in years, that no matter what happens to her, the moment she has shared with Max will always be real and will be cherished. This scene pinpoints that Chloe is able to admit her own faults, that she is not entirely selfish and reckless, and with that, Max is given the choice: save the town or save Chloe. If Max saves Chloe, the two of them are seen driving away from an Arcadia Bay that is in ruins. If she saves Arcadia Bay, Max will either hug or give Chloe one last kiss as she reverses the timeline. Justice is served for both Chloe and Rachel as Nathan and Jefferson are arrested, and the game ends with Max attending Chloe's funeral at the lighthouse, joined by Chloe's family, Frank, and a couple students from the Blackwell Academy. A blue butterfly lands on the top of Chloe's coffin, fluttering as Max notices it and smiles to herself. And so, the question remains, is Chloe a good person? Honestly, there's no objective answer that can be made. I believe it's so subjective, and frankly, I think Chloe is neither a good person nor a bad person. Chloe is at best a morally great character. Hell, I would even say that she's the epitome of that, and exactly why I like her so much. She's so flawed, she's so messy, her personality is so raw, and I cannot help but be enamored with the emotional mess that is Chloe Price. I also do appreciate all of her sweet moments she shares with Max as well. It's also why I don't think she's a bad character. I can see the arguments of why people think she's one-dimensional, but disagree. Chloe is definitely a much more complex person than what we initially think. People usually argue that Chloe should face the consequences of her own actions and changed, but to be honest, a character doesn't need to go through a redemption arc in order to be considered well written. Take Azula from ATLA as an example, but even then, I'd say that Chloe has changed through the game, even if it wasn't that drastic. I think Chloe's character evolution is realistic, even if it's frustrating for others. It's necessary to understand that Chloe cannot simply just do a 180 and suddenly become a perfect, morally good person. After all, her mental illness and the trauma from the abuse she has suffered from is holding her back, and it is important to understand that it happens in reality as well. Not every troubled person goes through the same things, and people definitely do not respond to the trauma the same way. Chloe's few glimpses at wanting to change, and even the few scenes of her admitting her own faults, is enough for me to like her. I think the game does a splendid job in creating a character that inspires so many feelings from people, whether they're positive or negative, and I believe Life is Strange would have been the same without Chloe Price. So, that was all for today's video. Please let me know in the comments what are your own personal thoughts on Chloe. Do you like her? Do you hate her? Tell me all about it in the comments below. When I first came up with the idea for this analysis, I did not quite expect to have so many feelings about Life is Strange, especially so many years later. I was a teenager when I first was introduced to the series, and it was fun to look back at it and see if my initial feelings about the game have changed at all. On one hand, I still agree with my initial thoughts from when I first played the game, but on the other, I definitely see most of the characters in a different perspective. You know, it's actually pretty fun to take a look at the media you consumed when you were younger and see how it holds up. Regardless, I think this may be my only video on Life is Strange, as I don't really have any strong feelings about Life is Strange 2, and I did not play the latest release in the series just yet. This has been Lime, and if you have any wishes for what character I should take a look at next time, please let me know. Enjoy your Sunday! Oh, hold on.